Hey, ladies. Hello, hello. Welcome to Small Business Saturday at Black Women Making Money. I want to return to my roots of actually creating content with regards to entrepreneurship. I know a lot of you have jobs and things like that, but some of you may want to start down the path of entrepreneurship, want to get better with your businesses, things like that. So every Saturday is going to be Small Business Saturday. So, like the video as you all are coming in, please like the video and share the live stream as well. This is Pay Off Your Debt Weekend. And this has come about because tomorrow we have the credit solutionist herself, Victoria, coming to talk about how to pay off your debt and get your credit right and be able to buy a house, be able to level up, financially, things like that. And I kind of want to make a whole weekend out of it. So, um, today's topic is all about starting a side hustle in order to pay off your debt. This came about because, as I'm going through my life, my process of, I wrote down all of my debt. My number is 479. Yes, including my house. I have a 10-year plan in order to pay off all of that debt. And I know that some of you may have like a $20,000 in credit card bills, or some of you may have a $30,000 car note that you're upside down in and you can't think that you'll ever get out of it. Or you may have a $60,000 student loan debt and you think, I'll never be able to get out of this debt. You may have a job where you are able to pay your rent or pay your mortgage with the job. You're able to take care of your kids, things like that, but you don't have any extra money in order to tackle the debt. And what I wanted to do today was kind of talk about the idea of starting that side hustle in order to pay off that debt. Again, ladies, as you're coming in, please like the video, subscribe to the channel if this is your first time here. Let me know what types of businesses you all have as well, so that way I could tailor some of my commentary to the types of businesses either that you have or that you want to start. One of the things I think about as we have this topic is that this topic is all about mindset. A lot of us think that we will never be able to get out of debt. A lot of us think that we'll never be able to make an extra $5,000 a month working part time to then use to pay off debt. A lot of us think I could never make $5,000 a month unless that is from a full time job. I'm here to tell you that that is not correct. There are a lot of people who make $3,000 a month, $4,000 a month, $5,000 a month, $10,000 a month part time with their side hustles. Now, you can't do that with every side hustle. So, one of the things we're going to talk about during today's session are the types of side hustles and the types of businesses that you need to think about in order to get to the amount of money that you're looking for. But if you, for example, you have $20,000 in credit card debt, you could pay that off in a year if you just make an extra $2,000 a month. And the 2,000, that's for 10 months. You're going to have a little bit of extra money because you're going to pay some taxes on it, etc. So I want you to think about it from that perspective. Could I make an extra $2,000 a month from this side hustle and take all of that money, use my job in order to continue to pay my bills, continue to live, have groceries, things like that, and then use my side hustle to pay off this debt? I think you can do it. I know. So I chose a job that I have because it was going to afford me enough money to be able to live well and pay off debt and be able to invest aggressively over the next 10 years. But a lot of us, it's our mindset. I can't do it. I don't know if I can. And I'm here to tell you that you can. You can do it. So let's start off with The fact that I have a couple more notes here before we go to this video that I want to show you today. So, um, I already said that I think that every woman should focus on becoming debt free. I think every Black woman, every woman, period, every person should focus on becoming debt free. I know that there are a lot of people who talk about good debt versus bad debt. I'm not talking about if you have 10 rental properties and you have a mortgage on those 10 properties. That's not what I'm talking about. Even though I will say, over time, even if you have 10 rental properties, you do eventually want to pay off all of that debt. The reason is because as you turn 60, 70, 80, 90 years old, if you have 10 properties and you don't have mortgage on any of those properties, and each one of them brings in $1,000, just to keep the math simple, that's $10,000 a month. That is how you retire with cash flow without worrying about whether Uncle Sam is going to pull Social Security from us. Hey, Alonzo, nice to see you. So, I think that every woman, every man listening to me should have a get out of debt plan over time. I know for me, I don't want to be 70, 80 years old in debt. So now at age 46, I'm focused on okay, what's my 10-year plan so that by the time I'm age 56, I can have all of this debt paid for, including my house. And once that happens, all you have to do is pay your utilities, you pay your real estate taxes, you have a few dollars coming in through some dividend stocks, things like that. You have a whole new life. You can exhale, you can chill, you can relax. You can have a side hustle that helps you eliminate all of that debt. It may take you 5 years to do it. It may take you, including your mortgage, okay? It may take you 5 years to do it. It may take you 7 years to do it. But imagine if your mortgage is $1,800 and you're able to double up. You're able to double up. So you pay extra principal every month. There are people out there that pay off their mortgages in 5 years, 7 years, 10 years. They don't do it just from having a job, they do it also from having a side hustle. Everybody, like the video. We are going to actually review some Robert Kiyosaki today. Robert Kiyosaki was $800,000 in debt. Now, his wife, he married her and he didn't really tell her he had all of this debt. So, God bless Kim Kiyosaki. They were able to pull it out of the water. But I felt like this was very inspirational. And let's go through a little bit about Robert's story. He's going to tell us some steps with regards to getting out of debt and using a business, thus a side hustle, in order to get out of that debt. Everybody, again, don't forget to like the video as we are watching this.
Kim and I have been married for like 30 something years now, but we started off with nothing. People think, well, she married me for my money. That wasn't true because I was kind of between businesses. I had lost my second business.
Not only did you not have money, we were like in a lot of debt.
800,000 in debt.
Yeah.
So she didn't marry.
Bad debt, not good debt.
Yeah. Well, it was just a learning experience.
It was a great learning experience, and we paid it all back.
Yeah. Kim and I have been married.
Oops, I didn't mean to do that. So, first thing he said was it was a learning experience. I know about that. I know about learning experiences. I've signed debt on that I wasn't supposed to sign. I took on loans from people that, you just sometimes you're like, I can do this, and then things don't work out. We all know that we just can't quit. So let's continue listening. But it's a learning experience. It definitely is. And the whole point is to not have to learn the lesson twice. And if you are not in a lot of debt now, the point is then to not get into a lot of debt. Let's learn from Robert Kiyosaki's story, learn from my story so that you can do better. Yeah, the cash flow quadrant is the real deal. It's the real deal. I love it. It's like my favorite book from Robert Kiyosaki is Cash Flow Quadrant. Let's continue listening.
It was a great learning experience, and we paid it all back.
Yeah. A lot of people are saying, cut up your credit cards. I think that's really ridiculous because a credit card is not the problem. In fact, I love my credit cards. To develop yourself to be, as the Army says, to be all you can be.
So here's the thing about cutting up your credit cards. And he didn't say this, but I'll say it. If you cannot pay off your credit cards at the end of the month, you don't necessarily want to use them. But there are certain things that it's harder to purchase if you don't have a credit card. Or sometimes there are some places that I go that, like, I have a very small credit card with like a $400 limit where I don't want to put in my regular credit card. I use that credit card in case something happens. Like, I know that people can only take so much money off of that credit card. So, um, he loves his credit cards. He's okay with getting into various types of debt. But let's continue listening to this.
I have no idea what it feels like to pay off your investors when you screw up. So I was cringe when I hear, oh, we just crowdfunded that. I'm going, well, how are you going to pay them back?
That's the key. That's the key.
And good debt is debt that somebody else pays for you. But the reason getting rid of bad debt was so important for us in our starting our lives together was that it's easier to get good debt, i.e. loans and things like that on apartment houses and commercial buildings and rental property if you have no bad debt. And so we had no blemishes by the time we came through this process. We never stopped investing, by the way, but we did pay off the bad debt and get into good debt. So good debt is very simply debt that makes you rich and somebody else pays off for you, i.e. your tenants. And bad debt is debt that makes you poorer every month and you have to pay for. So we'll start with steps of getting out of debt. So step number one is you got to tell yourself the truth. And I think that's one of the hardest things I had to do because, Kim had never met a financial disaster like me before. She couldn't believe anybody could be driving a Mercedes and living in a nice hotel right on the shores of Diamond Head and be flat broke, but also deeply in debt.
Okay, let's talk about this because he mentioned the fact that he was driving a Mercedes. This was back in the 80s. He was living in a hotel. He looked like he had a lot of money, but he was in so much debt and he was flat broke. There are a lot of us that are living the same way. We have a nice car. We have a nice house. Our kids go to great schools. Yet, if somebody looked at our financials, they are in shambles. They're in shambles. And diverting some of your attention to paying off that debt by bringing in more income, at the end of the day, sometimes you can't cut off any more subscriptions. You can't get fewer lattes. Sometimes you do have to focus on making more money. Let's continue listening.
And I kept pretending I was rich, and that was, I was faking it till I make it. And, I was praying to God and Jesus and Buddha and hoping that money would come by and pretending I had no debt. And
faith without works is dead. So we can pray all we want, but if you're not working towards the right thing, it's not just working, because you could work a low income minimum wage job and not get in anywhere. The goal is for us to pray and then to get to work and work on the right things in the right sequences for us to be successful.
I was looking good and, eating in the best restaurants and flaunting the cash. But I was flat broke. You can fake your girlfriends, but you can't fake your wife. And so the first thing I had to do with Kim was sit down and eventually tell her the truth that I wasn't as rich as I looked.
Well, it's true. You've got to tell yourself the truth, because if you have a goal of where you want to go, you're not going to be able to get there if you don't know where you are. Step number two is you've got to stop accumulating the bad debt.
Yes, and what that meant is sometimes you might have to make a little bit of sacrifice. And when Kim and I moved from Hawaii to California and then went homeless right away, and we were living in the garage basement apartment, there was sometimes I had to run up, we had no money. So Kim had like $2 to get through Friday, Saturday, and Sunday till I came home Sunday night and hopefully got paid for what I was doing.
So I don't know what he was doing at the time because he was saying he hopefully got paid on Sunday. Not quite sure what he meant by that. But there are going to be days and times where you may have to go back to ramen noodles or to, eating, um, not eating out as much or being very conscious about what you're spending money on. We talked about these Beyonce tickets. You may not be able to go to Beyonce. You may just have to find the concert eventually on YouTube, things like that. It's important to understand that during the debt payoff period of time, whether you're listening to Dave Ramsey or Robert Kiyosaki or Grant Cardone, you are going to have to sacrifice. Elena Cardone talked about the fact that in 2008, in the last crash, Grant came to her and said, "We are cutting off all spending, all unnecessary spending, unless it is in the business." Everybody that goes through this period of time where they are paying off debt, we'll call it massive amounts of debt, but even small amounts of debt, you're going to have to give up something, and you may have to be willing to sacrifice for 3 years, 5 years, 7 years. But once you are done on the other side, there is such a sense of relief that you're just going to have to do it. Now, I don't think we should be eating ramen noodles for 10 years. I'm not, I guess I should clarify that. But we can sacrifice the Beyonce tickets. We can sacrifice the vacations and things like that in order to have all of that side hustle money going right into paying off debt.
Number 3 is make a list of all, and the key word is all, the debt that you owe.
And she's still giving me a dirty look when she says the word all because, I had so much debt I didn't want to tell her. And I kept sneaking off and paying bills here and sneaking around there. And finally she says, because I didn't want to tell her how bad the Titanic was that I ran aground and called my last business. And finally we had to sit down and I had to write down all the investors I owed money to, all the friends and family I owed money to, and everybody I felt bad about, that I was still not paying and things like this. So she had me sit down and write. And even the credit card companies, they get really nasty when you don't pay them. So I had to show her the envelopes I was receiving from the angry credit card companies and all this stuff, and basically tell the truth and face the music.
This is the hardest part. I finally did it in November after putting it off for months to actually sit down and write a list of everybody that you owe, family that you owe, friends that you owe, former business partners that you owe, credit card companies, student loans, all of those things. But at the end of the day, it ends up being a number. Sometimes you might gasp at it, but then you end up saying, okay, this is just a starting point. It's just like starting with your weight. You may start off at 300 pounds. You're going to gasp for a second, then you're going to be able to say, okay, now begins the work with regards to what I need to do in order to get off 100 pounds, the sacrifice that needs to be made, things like that. You can do it though, and having that side hustle money is going to help you be able to pay off that debt. Let's continue.
Step number 4 is a very important step. And all you guys out there who are deeply in debt and all this, I'd like to say this is probably the most important first real step you can go through, or a major commitment. And that is hire a bookkeeper. If you look in the workbook, I talk about a bookkeeper as part of your team. And there was times, I was just trying to do my own books. And, when I'm stressed out and embarrassed and upset that I owe so much money, I would not really confront the truth. Plus I'm messy. I'm not very detail oriented. So Kim and I finally went out, and my rich dad talked to me, and we're talking over with him. He says, "Do you have a bookkeeper?" And I said, "No, because it costs too much money." And he says, "Look, rich people have bookkeepers. Poor people don't. You have got to keep accurate records."
Okay, well, this is step number 5. And now,
Okay, my mother's a bookkeeper. has been for many years. I was part of her business for about 6, 7 years. So I can accurately say it's not just having a bookkeeper, but it's also meeting with the person every single month to review your financials, to figure out where you are, what money you spent last month. Was there an ROI on that money? Did you hit your sales goals? If you did, great. If not, why not? A great bookkeeper is also a strategist as well. A great bookkeeper is not going to necessarily be able to tell you how to make more money, but they're going to be able to say, hey, you are spending a lot more on supplies. Therefore, you may need to increase your prices in order to keep your margins the same. A great bookkeeper is going to say, hey, you spent a lot of money eating out last month. Maybe we need to, even if it's with clients, is there a way for us to lower that? When I was a bookkeeper, I met with a woman who she had a nonprofit, and she had this gala that she would do. And even though she got the room for the gala for free, it cost, I'll never forget, it cost $60,000. She had the gala for 3 years in a row. And I basically looked at every year when we did, she asked me to sit down and help her with her numbers. Took $60,000 to put the gala on, and she only brought in 25-ish thousand dollars. And the minute that I, as her bookkeeper, showed her that, she said, oh my goodness, I can't have this gala anymore. When Robert Kiyosaki and Kim Kiyosaki are talking about having a bookkeeper, it's not just having a paper pusher. It is actually having somebody who can go with you step by step, line by line, and actually review the numbers with you every single month. Also, in my mother's bookkeeping company, the companies that did the best actually scheduled time with her every single month without fail to review the numbers. A good/great bookkeeper for most people are going to cost you $300 to $500 a month if you don't have a lot of transactions. So that is an investment in you figuring out what's going to work really well within the side hustle/business that you are starting. Let's keep going.
Now that you've got a list of every debt that you owe, you're going to make a visual picture of that debt. And very simply, what you're going to do is you're going to draw a quadrant for each debt. And in the upper left-hand column of the quadrant, you're going to put the creditor. So for example, it might be Visa. In the upper right-hand column goes the total amount owed, total balance owed. Bottom left-hand corner goes the minimum monthly amount that you have to pay every month. And in the bottom right-hand corner, you're going to divide your total amount due into the monthly payments. Is
So
that
in the
correct?
example in the workbook, it's Visa, minimum $100 a month, $2,000 total payments. And that means the number 20 means it'll take you 20 months to wipe out this debt.
Yeah, you basically take the total amount due, which is 2,000 divided by 100, and that equals 20 months. So for every single debt that you have, you're going to draw this visual. And again, refer to the workbook because it's in there. It'll make it very, very clear. But for every single debt, you're going to set up this quadrant, and you're going to have this circled number that says how many months it will take to pay these off.
When Kim and I met, we had nothing. It took us 10 years to go from nothing to financially free.
It took 10 years to go from nothing to financially free. 10 years. He was in $800,000 in debt. And this was in the 80s when 800,000 is still a lot of money, but this was in the 80s when, with inflation, it's probably double that. So imagine saying today you're in 1.6 million in debt. That's where he was, 10 years. And you know what? They were still young when they got out of it. They were still able to have full and fulfilled lives after they got out of all of that quote unquote bad debt.
So she was 37, I was 47. But that's the power of focusing on assets versus liability. Most people are so busy working for money, so busy trying to pay their bills and so busy buying liabilities they think are assets. So my first gift to Kim was the counting game to get her head in here. And today we're financially free. That's the whole thing. So everybody can do it. It's a matter of putting your head into the right column. And then for me, it was in 73, I took my first real estate investment course here. I'm free. I lost money, made money back, but I never got out of the asset. There's a lot of people who can't make $1,000. And the reason they can't make $1,000 is because mentally, emotionally, spiritually, and physically, they're not capable of making $1,000, whatever the case is. So Kim and I today are in the multi-millions of dollars in making money, but we wouldn't have gotten there because one time we were having trouble at $1,000. So every time we had a problem, we had to get bigger than the problem. For many people out there with $1,000 problem, they're not going to solve the problem until they personally develop themselves mentally, emotionally, spiritually, and physically to be bigger than $1,000 problem.
Erica Williams, most of you know who she is. She talks about the fact that in the last recession, most people who lost their home had a deficit of $500 a month. And if that's the case, then Robert Kiyosaki is right. Most people cannot make an additional $1,000 a month. Most people cannot make an additional $2,000 a month. They don't have the creativity and the problem-solving skills to figure out, how can I tackle this? How can I do this? So that is why most people are in such massive debt and cannot figure out how to get out of it. This mindset that we need to have in order to get out of massive amounts of debt, it takes us kind of, first of all, again, knowing that it is possible and figuring out, how do we get beyond the problem of can't make an additional $1,000 a month, can't make an additional $3,000 a month, etc. Don't forget to like the video, everybody.
So step number 6 is to determine the order for paying off each debt.
And this is where that little circled number is going to come into play. You're going to start with the smallest circled number you have. And people often say, I want to make one comment. This does not take into account the interest rate on the debt. And shouldn't I pay off my biggest interest rate first? Don't we want to get the one with the highest interest rate off the books first? Not necessarily in this formula. In this formula, you want to see a result quickly. You want to know that this formula works. So we're going to take the shortest debt that you have, the one that you can pay off the quickest. And when you see that result, when you see that paid off, you can see the formula working, you have a win, it'll encourage you to move forward. So that's why we start with the smallest number.
So it's nothing, as Kim says, it's not about the interest payment, it's the fastest one you can wipe out immediately. So when you look at the average person, they have a job, money comes in here, they pay for their house, and the money goes to a bank through a mortgage. So it's not an asset because the cash is flowing out. So it's a liability. So the definition of liability, does it take money from your pocket? And for an asset, does it put money in your pocket? So when I have a rental property here, it puts money in my pocket.
Let me say one thing about this. As Black people, please buy a house for you to live in. I know that there are people like Grant Cardone telling us not to buy a house, that a house is a waste of our money. Buy apartment buildings, put the money in apartment buildings. I'm here to go against that grain and say, for you, whether you're a single person, whether you are married, especially if you have children, buy a house. Because Robert Kiyosaki owns a house for himself that he lives in. So does Grant Cardone. So Robert Kiyosaki is saying your house is a liability. That may be true, but part of the reason why Black people have an issue with wealth in this country is because we don't own our own homes. And 2/3 of white people's net worth, the average white person's net worth is $180,000, and 2/3 of that net worth is in their personal residence homes. So please, please buy your own house. Also, with regards to apartments, the landlord can increase the price $200 a month, $300 a month, $500 a month, and you have to pay it or you have to move. With a house, as long as you get a fixed rate mortgage, then at least you could have stabilized housing cost. So I know that it's, this thing with Robert Kiyosaki about your own personal residence is a liability. I don't care about my own house anyway. I suggest every Black person, Black women, buy your own house. Let's keep going.
So if I live in the house, it's a liability because even if I have no debt on it, I still have taxes, depreciation, repairs, and upkeep, insurance, and all this. When I rent a property, I've done a good job buying it and structuring it. Every month it sends me money. So I started off when I was 25, I had a little 1-bedroom condo. And it put $25 in my pocket. It was a start. So this was good debt. You see, the debt also went out and paid, but it also put $25 in my pocket. So net,
And you can house hack these days as well.
I was making money from my little house. So today, my wife and I own 6,500 of them. And every month, 6,500 houses put money in my pocket. My people who live in them love me and all this because they have a place to live. But all of this comes from debt. So they're 100% finance here. It's all debt. So this is good debt. And what makes it good debt are the two most important words: cash flow. We became financially free instead of going back into debt or just spending that cash on doodads and things like this. For those of you who are rich dad, poor dad, or played the cash flow game, what we do is we invest that money even faster. So in this case, all that money, instead of spending it, we just kept buying more properties, stocks, bonds, never buy mutual funds. But we had money to invest at even greater rate of speed. And that's how our investment rate went from 30% up to 80% today, and is now in the millions of dollars we're continuing to reinvest. And we live off of our cash flow from our properties.
Okay, so what he's talking about is once we are debt free, we can still continue with our side hustle and start putting that extra money into investments, increasing our investments. The rich become richer because they have more money, more of their paycheck going to investments than they do their living costs, their monthly living cost. So now, let's say 7 years from now, 10 years from now, you're able to take your paycheck from your tech job, from being a nurse, whatever, and put practically 80% of it into investments because you have paid off your debt. And if you also have that side hustle as well, you have that extra money going into investments as well. This is what I'm doing. I have a 15-year plan. I'm going to be buying businesses. I'm going to buy tax liens. I'm going to buy dividend stock. I am looking at how do I buy cash flow for my retirement? And I've done a session on that on this channel, so you're able to check it out. But this is the mindset that I have, and this is the mindset that I'm suggesting other people have as well. So let me give you some tips with regards to businesses, side hustle businesses that you should think about starting to pay off your debt. Everybody like the video as you're coming in as well. I'm not going to tell you like specific types of businesses. I'm going to give you specific criteria that you want to look out for. The first thing is you want something that has minimal investment. Minimal investment for you. Don't start a restaurant. Don't start anything that takes a lot of money. I am a fan of anything that costs less than, I would say, $500 to start is where you want to be. If it is a store, an Etsy store, for example, if you're going to sign up for Fiverr or Upwork, um, I'm not a huge fan of Uber, and I'll explain to you why, or Lyft or places like that. I think that there are things that you can do where you're able to maximize the amount of money that you want to make. But you definitely want to have something that has a minimal investment because you want money coming in and not going out. Some of you think you have to have a website and all sorts of stuff in order to get started. That oftentimes is not the case either. Sometimes you just need a Calendly link or you need a link tree, which is free. Calendly, I think they charge $100 a year or something like that for people to get on your calendar. And even with Calendly, they're able to like pay you for coaching sessions or consulting sessions or things like that. Um, but you want something that's minimal investment. You want something that's fast cash. You want something where you can get your first payment within 10 to 30 days. Within 10 to 30 days. You want a side hustle that's going to bring you cash fast. That's why there are some things that are out there that take a lot longer for you to get set up. And I'm not a fan of that for this strategy of starting a side hustle to pay off your debt. Hey, just as Shar, Alonzo sent you. Well, great. Glad to have you here. And you know what? I'm going to put the link in StreamYard, sorry, in the channel, just in case anybody wants to come up. So, and I'm going to pin it here really quickly. Number 3, you want something that doesn't take a lot of money for you to actually like produce that service. Okay. What do I mean by that? The issue that I have with Uber is that you get an Uber check, but you have to pay money for your gas, you have to pay money for your repairs. Because you're driving around in Uber, it takes a lot more money, a lot more wear and tear on your car. So I'm not a fan of something like that. There are also other businesses where, for example, you'll have uh, certain types of businesses that require inventory. So you have a lot of cash going out. And then when you make money, in order for you to grow your business, you have to reinvest that entire check in order to grow the business. I'm not a fan of those types of businesses for the purposes of paying debt. I'll give you a great example. I was a business plan writer. People would pay me $4,000 for a business plan because I wrote business plans that they could take to the bank in order to get SBA loans or to investors. Practically 100% of the money that I earned of that $4,000 came into my pocket. That is a great business to start as a side hustle in order to pay off debt. Something that doesn't take a lot of money for you to actually produce that product or service. Okay. Um, pick something that is not hard for you to produce or hard for you to serve. So I wanted to help people I wanted to help people get business grants at one point. The problem that I had was pulling together the database was a very difficult thing. It was a very manual process. I tried to do it, then I tried to pass it off to somebody else. And when she ran out of time, it just became such a hassle for me to put that database together that I had to let that business go. My suggestion to you is don't pick anything that is hard for you to actually deliver that service. Okay. Don't try to learn a new skill. Don't try to learn a new skill. If you do something during the daytime for your job, try to turn that into your side hustle first. Why do I say that? Because every business, if you are starting a business, it takes marketing, it takes sales skills, it takes back office operation skills. A lot of people will give you ideas for side hustles, but then you have to learn that new service as well as learning how to market and sell and things like that. That is not a smart idea for something like this. So I'll never come to you and say be a Web3 consultant. Unless you do Web3 for your full time job, absolutely not. Figure out how you can consult, how you can serve people with the skills that you already have. If it's not your 9 to 5 skill, maybe it's something that you already do naturally. Now, the one thing that I will say is there are some people who are really great at like baking or things like that. If you are great at baking, let's say you bake wedding cakes and somebody comes to you and they want a wedding cake and they give you the money up front for the materials as well as 50% of your labor, then that can be very good. I've worked with people who are fantastic at baking cookies, cakes, pies, things like that. Hey, D'Ambrosia, good to see you. Set your business up so that people give you money in order to produce product. Try not to produce products before people pay you. That's what I'm trying to get at with this type of business. Um, Also, you want to do the math. Is this a type of business that will get me the $2,000 I'm looking for per month so that I could tackle this debt? Or the $4,000, $5,000 a month I'm looking for so I could tackle this debt? In other words, if you need to make $2,000 a month and you've got 5 hours a week, 5 billable hours a week, okay, that means that you need to have a service that gives you $100 an hour. So you need to think to yourself and you need to ask the service that I'm about to start, would somebody pay me $100 an hour for it? If the answer is no, then that is not a good idea. So that's how you get these people that are doing Uber and Lyft and they can't figure out why they're unable to get ahead. Uber has a horrible retention problem. And this is it because people will get money and then by the time they look at their expenses, they're like, I'm losing money from this. So you're saying that you love the cash. I love the cash flow quadrant as well. Was I recommended? Was recommended that for my mentorship. Yep, cash flow quadrant is great. Um, my suggestion to you, and I kind of hinted at this before, try to stay away from anything that requires inventory. So I know that some people will say that a great business is for doing this is reselling. So you buy something from thrift store and then you resell it for X number of dollars. My issue with that type of business is that you start buying stuff and then you sell stuff and then you get a profit. And usually you have to buy more things. So you usually take that entire amount of money that you just made to buy more things to then resell. Usually those types of businesses with inventory, um, in order for you to get bigger, you have to invest more and more money. We're trying to get cash out of the business so that we could pay off this debt. I'm not a fan. It's not that reselling is not a good business. I'm just not a fan of you using that type of business if your goal is to use a side hustle to pay off debt. So, what are some things you can do? Some of you are really great at research. Even infusing ChatGPT into your research skills could be a great way for you to make money. You can be a researcher. You can help people learn ChatGPT. I know I said that you shouldn't have like a completely new skill, but if you're already a great researcher and you're already great at Googling and you can do a couple of tweaks to figure out ChatGPT and help people really leverage the software, or help them with research papers or things like that, um, that could be a great thing for you to do. If you are a writer, like I wrote business plans, there's a guy named Coach K who helps people write their government contract proposals. Anything that you're able to do around writing, you usually get to keep 100% of the money that you make from that side hustle. And it's stuff that people really, really need. So, what Coach K did is he won, like, I think, two government contracts. He started talking about it on his YouTube channel, and now people are paying him to help them get government contracts. Okay, but it's something he already did. It's a skill that he already had, and it's a skill that a lot of people need assistance with. I've helped people get grants. I've written grants before. Don't ask me to do it now. It's a very tiring process for me. But some of you are already great writers. You already do these things in your business. You know how to write proposals, things like that. Translating that into this type of side hustle that can help you pay off that debt. Um, you could start a YouTube channel. My only concern about that is don't depend on the AdSense money. If you're going to start a YouTube channel, starting it with the thought of, I'm going to speak to my perfect avatar, get them off YouTube, get them into some sort of a consulting or coaching call with me or something like that. Uh, and understand that YouTube takes time to build unless you are somebody like a Mahogany Pink or something like that, that just has viral videos and really great production. Um, you're saying here, so it's basically being recycled. I don't know. I'm sorry, I don't know what that was referring to. Right, passive income for the win. Yeah, yeah. We want passive income or semi-active income. Eventually, you want to get to passive income with this. You want to have enough money coming in from that side hustle that you are investing 80% of what you're making into investments that are going to get you passive income. Absolutely. Oh, you were talking about the inventory topic. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, anything like that is, to me, I'm not a fan of it. I'm not a fan of it for the purpose of paying off debt, because I've worked with a lot of people who have these types of businesses. It's very cash intensive. You don't want something that's cash intensive. You want something where, like, with my business plan writing business, I was making so much money that I was complaining to my accountant about the money that I was making and why my tax bill was so high. And he said, you need to add more deductibles from your business. You don't have enough expenses in your business. So, but that's what you really want. You want those types of businesses that spit off cash and you get to keep 70, 80, 90% of the money. The other, 10 to 30%, you're either paying for referral fees, or Fiverr's going to charge you 30%, or you may pay an assistant to help you produce certain parts of that product or service, or you may have to pay Calendly or things like that. So, hey, anti-ableism, good to see you. Everybody like the video? Like the video, please. Um, Erica Williams has also talked about the fact that while digital courses used to be the rave, they have kind of slowed down. So, if you're going to do something that is a digital course, here's my suggestion to you. Don't spend a lot of time creating the digital course up front. Instead, spend your time marketing the course. Try to get a contingency of, let's say, perfect example. My stylist, I've been telling her this for months. I don't know why she doesn't listen to me, but she's very good at, like, wigs for women who have alopecia and hair issues. And she wants to do a course that helps other hairstylists learn how to properly create the wigs. And I've been telling her, stop trying to create the course first. What you do is you market the course. Let's say the course is $500. You market the course, and your whole goal is to get 10 people to give you $500 upfront. So if 10 people give you $500 upfront, that is $5,000, right? Then what you do is you get a Zoom account, and you actually, let's say you have 8 courses that you're going to have with them. You basically teach those 10 people and you come on live every Wednesday at 7 p.m. and you do session 1, session 2, session 3, session 4. So now you've got the money up front. You know that this is something people are going to need. Your course is going to be better because there's going to be live Q&A with the people who have purchased that course, etc. You just came in with businesses that I don't remember what I was talking about, but you can kind of rewind if you need to as well. But I'm a fan of that. If you're going to do a digital course, do not spend 5, 6 months creating the digital course. Spend 30 days marketing it. Get 10, 20, 30 people to give you a few $100s each, and then teach the course live. Record the course, and that becomes your recording. And that's how you're able to start a side hustle to pay off debt a lot faster. In her state, she can also do live courses as well. Yeah, we're in Maryland, but she has a lot of people all over the country who have told her they want this course. They have told her, we want you to teach this course. I'm like, then set up the camera, let them buy into it, set up the camera and just teach by Zoom. She's not listening to me. Which is then another great side hustle for people is there are a lot of people who have talent and have audiences, but they don't know how to monetize them. And there was a time when you would monetize it with like helping them set up a digital course or things like that. Now helping people set up these live courses that individuals are able to take, just like I told you how to do, that is a great side hustle. And you could split the revenues with the subject matter expert 50-50. And you could have 3, 4 people, 5 people you're representing like that. And all you help do is set up the funnel, tell them what to say in order to get people in the funnel, and you could have multiple clients that is what you're doing. If you are skilled at that, that is a great way for you to set up a side hustle that doesn't take a lot of money, but you can make $2,000, $3,000, $5,000, $10,000 in a side hustle, working 10 to 20 hours per week. Take that money, pay off that debt. You could be free in 6 months, a year, 3 years, even 10 years. Again, Robert Kiyosaki took him 10 years to pay off $800,000, and that was in the 80s. And that was before we had what we have today with the internet. So Shar is saying, excellent. She can do that first, then move on to Zoom. She needs to see it first. I understand her. I get it. I've been telling her I don't have the capacity to help her with it, but there are some people out there that is the business that they should start. Is just helping people who know how to do certain things. They have certain people asking them for intellectual property and help them monetize it, and you get 50-50 for it. Other ideas, helping people make more money. If you do any kind of financial coaching, be careful about being licensed and things like that. But there are people I'm seeing who are unlicensed, who are just helping people get their budgets together, helping people set up debt repayment plans with regards to just like thinking, like Robert Kiyosaki said, with the 4 quadrants, and helping people just list out what their debt is, or helping people come up with ideas for side hustles that they could start, or helping people with their resumes in order to get better job prospects. I know a gentleman, that's what he does. He's very successful at helping people rewrite their resumes and actually go after jobs. And he's successfully helping people get $20,000 to $40,000 bumps in their salary for doing the same type of thing just by job hopping. Okay. If you can help people make more money, if you could help people save more money, if you could help businesses make more money, if you can help businesses save more money, if you could help people find relationships. There's a woman here on YouTube, I can't remember her name, but she's got these little short TikTok-ish type of videos. She's in her kitchen and she's like, if man don't call you, he's not interested. He don't want you. She's from Atlanta. She's got the real Southern drawl. I love her, right? And she's a matchmaker. That's what she does. I don't know if that's her full-time job or if it's a side hustle, but for some of you, you're really great at matchmaking. You're really great at helping women with their profiles in order to attract the right people. You know, there are some people who do that and they do that very well. You also can create businesses to help people get healthy. Few years ago, I actually worked with a fitness trainer who we did everything through camera. It wasn't through Zoom, but it was something similar. You know, you don't necessarily have to be a physical trainer. Now, I do suggest you have a license or certification or whatever it is, if you're going to help people like do workouts, but they don't necessarily have to be in the same location as you. There are people who are using Zoom or Google Meet or something like that and training people from home. Um, yeah, Auntie Match. Yes, yes. I love her. She is great. She is so funny. I can tell she makes a whole lot of money because her videos are quick. They're so entertaining. She puts a lot out, a lot of content out, and I could tell she's really good. Um, but getting healthy. Some people want to learn. I paid somebody to teach me how to cook more vegan meals. So, you know, she came over to my house. She taught me, like, my mother doesn't cook at all. So she had to teach me, like, how to julienne vegetables and stuff like that. You'd be surprised. A lot of, for example, women want to get married and they want to learn how to cook. You know, there's all sorts of things that people want to learn how to do around getting healthy. So, you know, just ideas, things for you to think about. But the mindset that it takes for you to create a business that is meant for you to pay off debt is different from the side hustle or the business that you use to grow to $1 billion company or things like that. We are just focused on how can we take 10 to 20 hours per week and create a business that makes us $2,000 to $5,000 per month. Okay? And you want to do the math for that. You want to figure out what skills you currently have. You don't want something that requires inventory. You don't want to do something that you don't know how to do. You want something where people are going to prepay you for your work. When I wrote business plans, I required a retainer, prepaid. Then, when I wrote the first draft of the person's business plan, they gave me the money up front for revisions. That's the kind of business that you want. Okay, because you have a certain number of quote billable hours, and you want to make sure that you are paid for those billable hours. Ask me how I know, because certain people stiffed me with regards to I did the work and they did not pay me. So I'm warning you now, get your money up front. If you are coaching people, get your money up front. If you are consulting people, get your money up front. You can be a bookkeeper if you know how to keep books. You use QuickBooks for another business you have. You can open up a bookkeeping business. You could become certified QuickBooks Pro advisor. You could make great money. My mother has done that for many years. You could work 10 hours a week and make an additional $3,000, $4,000 a month with clients that you bill every single month, and you take the money out of their account. You do that through, for example, FreshBooks is a great way for you to do that, where they actually have it set up where the client puts in their banking information and it takes the money out every single month on the first of the month, whatever date of the month, without fail. That's the type of business that you want so that you can have those regular checks coming in every single month. So you know that, okay, great. I know I'm going to have $3,000 a month coming in. I have access for, again, for the bookkeeping. I have access to my clients' bank and credit card information. I'm able to download that information into a CSV file, do their QuickBooks, and boom, present them with their financial records. D'Ambrosia saying, I've heard about QuickBooks. I just never knew how it works. It wasn't explained properly for me. Um, so QuickBooks is an accounting software, the accounting software. I think about 90% of businesses use QuickBooks. Practically 100% of small businesses use QuickBooks. And basically, you enter, these days, you're able to download information directly from the bank. You enter your sales, your revenues, you enter your expenses, and it produces something called an income statement or profit and loss statement, as well as your balance sheet. It also has other types of reports in QuickBooks. So a lot of people who are bookkeepers, they use QuickBooks. And my mother specializes in QuickBooks. She was, um, a certified QuickBooks Pro advisor many, many years ago. And these days, I think accounting is a great thing. You don't have to be a CPA in order to do bookkeeping. A lot of CPAs will hire bookkeepers to help them help with their clients' financial statements. So, you know, since you don't know what QuickBooks is, D'Ambrosia, I'm guessing you're not in accounting. I wouldn't suggest that as a business for you, but some of you in here who are liking the video, like the video, everybody, give us a thumbs up, thumbs up. Some of you who are good with bookkeeping and accounting, I can't suggest it enough. It's a great way to make really good money. And I like that type of business because once you get a client, unless you screw it up majorly, you're going to keep that client for 5 to 7 years. And that client's going to pay you $300 a month, $500 a month, $1,000 a month, depending on how much volume they have. So you could practically get a client and get a quote unquote guaranteed check from them for 5 to 7 years for $500, $600 a month. In that case, let's say it's $500 a month per client. You sell 5 clients that, you got $2,500 a month coming in guaranteed. And I put guaranteed in quotes, obviously. And you may work 10 hours a week on it. Yeah, so you're saying you're starting out. I am, but we don't use that to me knowledge. Okay. All right. Um, so what else do I have on here? Um, getting your kids involved. Getting your kids involved. There is a tax law that says that you are able to pay your kids $12,500 per year for work that they do within your company. Stop paying your kids allowance. Instead, because this is what the rich do, now talk to your CPA first, but every CPA I've spoken with, they've all nodded their head that yes, you can do this. You have your LLC, you can have your accounting company, you can have any kind of company that you have out there. Get your kids involved with helping you with social media. Maybe they're responsible for creating all the social media for you. They may be responsible for other aspects based on what their talents are. And then instead of giving them an allowance, you pay them through the business and you pay them $200 a month for helping you with the social media. They can help you find hashtags. They can help you tag the right people who can shout you out. They can help you find influencers who can talk about you, things like that. That is a great way for you to reduce your tax liability from the business, as well as giving your kids the ability to put that business information on their LinkedIn page so that people can start seeing like, hey, wow, this young person has been working at this company for 3 years. Eventually, they will let whomever know that, yeah, this is my mom's company. But this is how the rich do it. We want Nepo babies. We've been talking about that. We want Nepo babies. You can create Nepo babies through this process. The final thing I'm going to say is we've been talking about going monk mode. Going monk mode means focusing 100% on something for 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, a year, etc. If you're going to start a side hustle, if you're going to start a side hustle with the intent of paying off debt, I suggest you go monk mode for 60 to 90 days to get things set up, rolling, get your first few clients, get money coming in. That may mean no YouTube, including my channel. If you come back in 60 days, 90 days and say, Cherie, I listened to what you said today. And because of you, we have a business now that's bringing in $1,500, but I had to go monk mode and I wasn't on YouTube, including your channel for 2 months. I would be jumping in my seat happy for you. So, think about going monk mode in order to start your side hustle, get your things together, get your process in place. Definitely figure out how people are going to pay you. If you need an agreement that people are going to sign, having little things like that in place so that way when someone says I'm ready to go, boom, you have it all together. You definitely want to do that. And I believe that any side hustle you start should take no more than a week for you to set up and should take no more than 30 days for you to get your first payment in. If it takes more than that, I think for this purpose, you're in the wrong side hustle. You don't want to take more than 30 days. So even if that means you need to go to Fiverr or Upwork or someplace like that, TaskRabbit, etc., in order for you to get some of that first money coming in, you definitely want to do that. You're you're driving. Okay, that makes sense. Because some of the things I just wasn't able to understand. So thank you, D'Ambrosio. Like the video on the way out. That is it for me. I hope that I said something today that was impactful for you. Tomorrow we are coming in. This is Pay Your Debt Off weekend, so we're coming in tomorrow with Victoria to talk more about paying off debt, fixing your credit, and basically leveling up financially. So I'll see you tomorrow, everybody. Have a great Saturday.